Welcome to Permission to Leap, a podcast exploring the stories of people who have brought their visions to life. Each week, I will speak to an inspiring guest and navigate the process they took to take the leap in their own lives, from the day that they first committed to the day that they landed on the other side of their leap. Permission to Leap is the spark that will push you to believe in your dreams again and make them your reality. Today's guest is Naveen Jain. Naveen is an entrepreneur and philanthropist driven to solve the world's biggest challenges through innovation. A man who knows no limits, Naveen pushes big dreams into action, spurring massive cultural and technological change. His audacious vision and magnetic personality continually inspires others to follow what feels impossible. The founder of Moon Express, World Innovation Institute, iNome, TalentWise, Intelius, and Infospace, Naveen sees beyond the current business and technological landscape, creating companies that make a true impact. This episode was recorded on Facebook Live during the book launch of Permission to Leap. So for those of you that don't know, Naveen is the one that wrote the foreword to my book, and there was a very specific reason that I chose him to write the foreword and asked him to write the foreword, and that is that Naveen owns a company called Moon Express, and Moon Express is going to the moon next year. Naveen started this company, he'll probably tell more of it, but is going to the moon next year. And Naveen doesn't have limits. Like his mind works differently than other people's minds, and he literally doesn't believe in scarcity. He doesn't believe in impossibility, and the way that his brain operates and thinks is just mind-blowing. He, in addition to going to the moon, is running a company, started a company right now called Viome, which is the goal of Viome is to make illness optional. Think about that for a second. If you were to make illness optional. And so Viome basically does microbiome testing for your stomach to determine like the flora and fauna of your inner workings. And then it tells you, hi Kyle, hi Sahar, good to see you guys here. Viome tells you what is going on in your inner landscape. Hold on, Naveen's having problems getting on. All right, I'm back. Naveen was calling me. He should be hopping on in just a second. So we'll be talking about Viome. We'll be talking about going to the moon. We'll be talking about how he doesn't believe in limits and he doesn't think in scarcity thinking. He's really cool. And I saw him speak in January and just absolutely, completely blew my mind. So,
oh,
there you are! Yay!
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Finally!
How's it going?
Awesome! Thank you.
Good to see you. I was just giving a little brief intro about how freaking awesome you are.
Oh my God! Oh my God! You are so kind.
I was showing everyone your name's on my cover right there, Naveen Jain.
Oh, it's reverse. No, I can't read it backwards.
Oh, that is true. I know it flips. So how are you? Happy Tuesday.
I'm doing amazingly well. Amazingly well.
Good. So I was just telling everyone a little bit how you don't believe in limits and you're going to the moon next year and you're trying to disrupt the healthcare industry and all sorts of other things. So I want to start off kind of several years ago. You know, my whole book is about taking leaps of faith and saying yes to the big things that are within you. Do you remember your first leap?
You know, to me, the leaps to some extent happens internally first before you see them externally.
Yes.
And you know, the day you start to believe that everything is possible, amazing things start to happen. You know, things start to incrementally start to become possible. And then you start to find the people that you have been surrounding yourself have really been the wrong set of people, right? And the people who have been really pulling you down, telling you you're not the right person, you can't do it, it's not going to happen, don't waste your time. So things really happened to me was when I got rid of all the people from my life that were negative, people who were laughing at my ambitions, like going to the moon. Sure, you're going to go to the moon, right? So point was, and that's how incrementally I start to believe that there's nothing that I can't do. And once that became belief, start to get internalized, I started to meet people who believed in the same thing, people who were encouraging you, people who were not saying it can't be done. Instead, they were saying, oh, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Have you explored this tech? And suddenly everything started to become possible. And it was no longer the fear, I know nothing about it, to actually became my mantra. The less I knew about it, the better the chances I was able to come up with something that's totally novel that other people have not thought about it.
Yes. So I want to get back to that, but there's something you said really quickly that I want to touch on. So a lot of people have a really hard time looking past their current reality, right? Like, this is my life, this is my reality. So how can I even think about going to the moon because, I can't pay my bills or this or that or the other thing. How do you look past your current circumstances in order to believe into the fact that you can go to the moon?
So the one thing that I find myself is not focusing on what it is, but focusing on what it can be. That means don't start focusing on this is what it is. You start to think about what if that it was that. And then you start to see how do you go from here to there. But if you can't imagine of something being different, you can't achieve that something different. So it's not about glass being half empty or half full. You need to focus on, is this the glass worth filling? Do I care to fill this glass?
That's
And
so
that's
good.
the key, that what we can do, achieve in our life. How can you go somewhere you don't even know where you want to go? So first thing you have to start thinking is, what if, imagine a world where I could be doing this. And then you say, oh, I can see myself doing this. And then you say, how do I go from here to there? But unless you can visualize and start to imagine that that could be you, you will never be able to get there.
I love that. That is such gold. Like, it's not about the glass being half empty or half full. It's like, is this the glass that's worthy of you pouring your love and passion into?
Exactly what it is. Yes.
So good. I love that. Okay. So you said a minute ago about this idea about disrupting industries. So the thing that I think is just so brilliant about you is that the two major businesses that I know about for you, you have no experience and no knowledge in whatsoever. And a lot of people would be like, well, I can't get into, rocket technology because I'm not an aerospace engineer, or I can't get into the medical technology industry because I don't have that knowledge. So talk to me about your theory about this, because I think it's brilliant.
So the main thing is, once you are good at something or you are expert at something, what makes you an expert is because you have a foundation of knowledge that you obviously have to take it for granted, because that's what makes you an expert. The minute you challenge that foundation, you're no longer an expert, right? Coming from outside the industry allows you to challenge every single thing that every expert has taken it for granted, because that's what makes them an expert. And to me, my first company was actually in year 1996. A company that I started was in the, building the services for a smartphone. That was, almost 9 years before Steve Jobs launched the first smartphone. And my belief was one day people are going to have that phone that are going to have all these things where you can be able to get your email and stock code and calendar, and to be able to pay using the phone. And that is what I proposed in year 2000 in an interview with Washington Post, right? So it was, so idea of what is possible is what drove that company. And when I went to the, look at the going to the moon, it was about saving the humanity from potential extinction. And everybody thought it couldn't be done. No private company has ever done it. Only the three superpowers have landed. And you, immigrant from India that grew up poor, how can you possibly even dream? Forget about doing it. It is just the craziest possible thing. Then you are just simply either are ignorant, naive, or just what I would say,
Insane.
willing to insane. Probably yes, the crazy insane. That's probably a good word. Right? And the answer was probably all of them, right? Because sometimes it just takes that insanity. Because at the end of the days, the disruption never happens when you follow the norm. If you are within the bell curve, you right in the middle, you will never be going anywhere because the average people in the middle always be thinking as everyone else is thinking. The disruption happens at the edges. When you are out there, whether on the left side people think you're crazy, or on the right side you think people you're crazy, but that's where the disruption starts to happen. So to me, being a non-expert is what allows you to start thinking about the problem in a very different way. So it's not even thinking outside the box, it's about thinking in a completely different box. That means apply the knowledge of one industry into a completely different industry where it is a novel idea.
I love that. So take us into specifics, because you're doing this with a company right now, Viome, that you want to disrupt the medical industry. So tell us about the inception of that, and then kind of like the goal.
So if you look at today, medical system really believes that there are certain set of symptoms and they put a name to it, call it disease, right? So they'll say this set of symptoms, let's call them Alzheimer, let's call them, diabetes, let's call them something. And once you have a name of a disease, there is a drug that you can give for that. So medical system believes we all humans are all the same. Once you have same symptom, same disease, everyone can have the same drug. And what's really interesting to me was I read a lot. And when I started to read on this subject, what I realized was that we as humans, even though we share almost identical DNA, that means you and I have 99% exactly the same DNA. But our microbiome inside our gut is less than 5% the same. So how can something that's good for you can be good for me? And how can we be the same drugs, the same food, the same thing could be good for both of us? And that realization, once I start thinking about, every research is pointing to the fact that all disease start in your gut, whether it is Alzheimer, autism, depression, anxiety, OCD, PTSD, all these neural diseases, people think start in the brain, they actually start in the gut. So obesity, autoimmune diseases, diabetes, even the cure for cancer, whether it works or does not work, depends on your microbiome. And the thing that I found just last week really fascinating was that how our microbiome control our brain. So they actually interfere using microRNA in our amygdala, which is our fear and anxiety, and our prefrontal cortex, which is our decision making. So imagine, they are controlling our decision making, our fear and anxiety. Isn't that like they are the puppet master? We are simply the puppet. What happened to the free will? The free will is them. They tell us when we are hungry, they tell us what we crave, and they more or less control. And nobody, even to date, Bree, they don't teach about microbiome in the medical school. So if you graduate from medical school today, they don't teach you about that. And coming from outside world, and that's what I was talking about, I realized that that will be the key to living healthy. And I started Viome to say, what if we can understand what these guys are doing in your gut and come up with a customized, personalized food for you? So instead of taking pharmaceutical drugs, what if we can create a world where illness can be a matter of choice, not a bad luck? And that was an audacious moonshot. But today, here we are with an amazing team of 60 people executing on that moonshot. So to me, that really is the power of being naive.
I love it. I think naivete is seen as such a negative thing, and I don't think it has to be. Clearly, like, you're doing big things with being completely naive.
But I want to focus on you. You are doing big things. You mean, think about, 5 years ago, people would have said, Bree, you're going to write a book that's going to change how people are going to live their life. That's going to tell them how they can be a better person. Are you crazy? You yourself can't be a better person. What are you going to write about it, right? And here you are, an amazing book that is just full of wisdom. It is so inspirational that everyone reading it feels that they can actually now leap forward. They have permission to leap. And to me, you are a living example of what is possible.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I mean, one of the things I want to talk to you about too, and I know it's a question I get a lot, is like sorry, my sister's texting me. My ability to move past barriers, I feel like, is extraordinary. Like and I feel like you have a similar thing. Maybe it's genetic, who knows? But right now you're facing some big barriers around getting Viome out in the world. Like you hit walls all the time. And I know because we've talked about a few of them that you've hit. What do you do to keep going and keep moving forward when all these barriers, like this industry is a monster and it does not want you to succeed? So how do you get over that?
So one of the things is that I think you and I talked about it briefly, that life of an entrepreneur, and anytime you're trying to change something, it's like in heartbeat. You're going to have ups and downs all the time. And ups and downs, like your heartbeat tells you you're alive. You don't want a smooth line, because smooth line means you're dead. And what I learned in life was, when you are absolutely at the bottom of that beat, just remember, you just need to survive that winter. The next beat is absolutely going to be up. And when you are on the top of that world and it's a beautiful summer day, just don't get too cocky, because the next beat is coming right down and you're going to have a long winter that you have to survive. So point is, that to me is the mantra. When the things are bad, you take a deep breath and you hunker down and you say, I'm going to get through it. And then suddenly things start to look better. And when you're on top of the world, always remember that you can't take everything for granted, because the next beat is going to be down, and the people you are ignoring today are exactly the people you'll be needing tomorrow. So just stay to be a normal human being where you care about people around you.
Yeah. Awesome. We have a question from one of my mentors, Sahar. She wants to know, like, how and when did you start with your financial abundance? Because you did grow up, poor. You came to America with very, very, very little money. What was that shift for you?
So I don't think the question is about financial abundance. I think it is more about the mental abundance. Right? So
well, abundance is abundance is abundance is abundance. The universe doesn't care if it's money, love,
That's my point. So I really think that once you start to believe that there is no scarcity in this world, because this mindset of scarcity is what keeps us down, what allows us to say this, this is what it is, right? If you create this mindset of abundance, that everything is there in abundance, whether you're meeting your soulmate, it is in abundance. There are billions of people, you'll find the right thing. And not to focus on the things that don't matter, in a sense that if you're trying to change healthcare, but you start a company to make money, then you essentially have this cognitive dissonance. So to me, making money is like having an orgasm. You never want to focus on it, because you'll never get it. If you enjoy the process, you will get what you want. So don't focus on things that are material. You start to focus on what really matters. If you want to create an amazing company, then focus on helping millions and billions of people, because doing good and doing well, they come together. It is not about, if you want to do a small good in the world, you create a nonprofit. If you want to do a large good in the world, you create a profitable enterprise. The profit that you make allows you to help more people, and suddenly you can help billion people. So mindset of abundance comes from believing everything is possible, because I believe nothing is impossible if you want something to happen.
I love that. So for the record, that was the line that Naveen said in the interview that I saw him in January. And I was like, this guy's awesome. The orgasm money thing. I heard that and I was like, this guy is amazing and hilarious. And like, I'm going to keep track of him. So let's see. I had another question for you. And then what you were saying was so good that I literally forgot it. So I'm going to ask you another question. So you're going to the moon and you're creating this new drug or new non-drug company, I guess, and all these things. Like, where does one go after that? Like, where do you leap after you leap to the moon?
Well, again, as you and I talked about, I started Viome for this simple moonshot. What if the chronic illness can be optional? And you and I now have power. We're not helpless. Every time we are sick, we feel helpless. And when you are helpless, it is a great chance somebody is going to victimize you. And our healthcare system is that one that victimizes you. Our pharmaceutical companies have really become the parasite on humanity. They want you to stay sick. So our thinking was, what if you and I become the CEO of our own health? What if we take control, knowing what's happening inside our body so we don't treat it like a black box, and we know what to do with it? And once we take control, it becomes a choice. So it's no longer, you're no longer helpless. You are empowered to make the decision. And it's okay if you say, you know what, I don't care, I want to be sick. And that's entirely your choice. But the fact is, you can do that. So where do you go from here? You go from here, fixing education, because education is another big problem. And, while everyone will say that, hey, it's all about, you know, leaving a great country for our children. And I always tell them that is a great novel thing. You, of course, want to leave a great country for your children. What if you also leave the great children for the country? Because then you will have amazingly great society, not just today, but going forward, right? So fixing the education system will be the next thing I do. Then creating the abundance of food, creating the abundance of energy, creating the abundance of water. Because why should we fight over things that could be created in abundance? So we fight over land, water, and energy. What if they were in abundance like air? Everybody has plenty of air, so we don't fight over it. What if the energy was the next air? What if the food was the next air? That we can all have so much of it that we don't fight over it, right? And that, to me, is really the key, is that mindset of believing that possible. And you as a coach, Bree, I learned so much from you, is that, your whole idea is not to just simply tell people what to do, but allow them to think how to think about what to do, right? And I think, to some extent, it's all about not taking them to the water or making them drink. You make them thirsty. And once you make someone thirsty, they will find their own water and they will drink for the rest of their life. And that is what a great coach does. That's what the great teachers do. That's what the great parents do, right? Is to make the people thirsty rather than take them to the water and make them drink. And I think you do an amazing job, Bree. So, my hat's off to you.
Thank you. So I read an essay or like white paper that you wrote about entrepreneurs and how entrepreneurs are, essentially going to like save the world, right? So tell me and everyone your whole concept about entrepreneurship and why people should become entrepreneurs.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say hello to Warren. Warren, hello. I'm glad you're there. So the reason for that is the entrepreneurs are the ones that are going to actually solve the problem facing the humanity, right? So entrepreneurs are going to become the next superpowers and really making the nation states completely irrelevant, right? Because entrepreneurs are not only now doing space exploration, they're solving the problem of healthcare. And somehow people believe the governments are the solution. I can tell you, Obamacare, Trump care, Putin care, none of them are going to solve any problem. It is going to be some entrepreneurs saying enough is enough, and they're going to go out and solve the problem. Same thing you saw in the energy. You can have the Kyoto Treaty, the Paris Treaty, and the Bombay Treaty, and Shanghai Treaty. None of them is going to solve the problem of creating clean energy. It is going to be someone like Elon Musk says, enough is enough. I'm going to go out and build an electric car. I'm going to build a solar cell. I'm going to build a solar roof, and I'm going to go make it happen. And I believe that entrepreneurs are starting to solve the problems that used to be the domain of the nation states. Secondly, entrepreneurs can be held responsible for their action every day, rather than politicians who can only be held responsible every election cycle. So you elect an idiot, you're stuck with that idiot for 4 years, right? No longer acceptable. As an entrepreneur, when you do something wrong, like Uber did, when they sent the cars to the airport to pick up the people, when everybody was saying, we cannot support ban on immigrants. That day, 200,000 people deleted Uber. and the next day the CEO had to quit the president's council. And that means, especially now in the world of social media, you see these big guys who thought they could do anything to any women and nobody can hold them responsible. One by one, they are falling. And that means people are now taking control and saying enough is enough. And we are going to go out and hold people responsible for their action, despite what they may think they have a power. And that's the power that we each individual is starting to carry. And that's why I believe you and I becoming that entrepreneur are going to start changing the world, because we no longer have to be restricted to our geographical boundaries. We find people in all over the world who believe in the same mission, and they're willing to help you get there. The capital is not patriotic. It flows where the opportunities are. People all around the world are willing to fund your enterprise because they believe what you're doing is worthwhile.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. So we have one other question that someone posted. He said, I would like to know what inspired Naveen to choose to pursue going to the moon. Do you remember the first time you had that thought that you're like, I think I'm going to go to the moon? How old were you?
Well, it's not really that. It was, to be honest with you, it's like, life is more of a continuum. It's not something, one thing happens. That's the last straw that actually does happen.
Right.
But, thoughts have been around for a long time. And that continuum of life is what makes you who you are. Sure, you can remember the last moment where you said, let's go do that. But it wasn't that moment that actually, that was the last straw or the last thing you saw. But to me, the going to the moon was really symbolic. The going to the moon is symbolic of what entrepreneurs are capable of doing. That means they are doing things that only superpowers did before. And to me, obviously saving the humanity from potential extinction, really learning to live away from this planet so someday we could be living on the Mars and Europa and Titan. And that's a first step. At the end of the day, moon is only 3 days away. The Mars is 6 months away. So would you rather not be a lunatic 3 days away than be a Martian 6 months away, right? And once we learn to live on the moon, next thing you know, we'll be probably living on 10 different planets.
Right. So I have to say, have you ever seen the movie Despicable Me? It's a kids movie. The little minions. I love kids movies. And in it, Gru, who's like the evil genius guy, goes and steals the moon. And there's like this little flashback scene where he's drawing the moon when he's a little kid and telling his mom, like, I'm going to go there. And then he builds a cardboard rocket ship and shows his mom, and he's like, I'm going to go to the moon and all these things. And it's funny. It reminds me of you because
how do you steal the moon? You mean colonize the moon?
Well, of course it's an animated movie. So they like shrunk it. And then he stole it. But it's a funny little sequence. And I've thought of you a few times seeing that movie, being like, I wonder if that was Naveen as like a little 3-year-old, like drawing the moon and being like, Mom, I'm going to go here someday.
I'm sure that happened. I'm quite sure that happened.
That's funny. So tell people how they can get their hands on Viome, because I know it's possible now. I'm getting my kit probably next month or in January.
Why don't you tell Bree how to get Viome, how you got Viome? Because, interesting thing is, Indians cannot pronounce the word we. If I say it, nobody will know. So why don't you?
Did you name it?
Yeah. And, everybody asks me, why would you start a company that you can't pronounce? Because I love the sound of it.
That's so funny. So for everyone that's watching, if you want to get a detailed report of your microbiome in your gut, it's Viome with a V, I-O-M-E. I believe it's Viome.com, right? And you can either do monthly payments or one payment.
We actually reduced the price to $399, and you can go get, and not only you get, the kit and you know what's going on, you also can get actionable thing, exactly what you can do with your things. For me, for example, everybody told me not to eat carbs, and carbs are bad for me. And I was eating spinach and avocado, and people told me wheat is really bad. You should be eating oats. When I got my report, you couldn't have written better, right? It says eat more carbs, don't eat oats, eat more wheat and everything else. And by the way, don't eat spinach and avocado and lentil, legumes, and tofu and everything else. Great for you. So it's unbelievable. Hey, Kim, how are you? Naveen.
I don't know if sorry, in downtown. Well, so everyone
Did you
should.
see what Kim is asking? Kim is a good friend, by the way. She's just a lovely, lovely host of a show on TV and radio, actually.
Oh, hi. Okay, there we go. Okay, some of the people's stuff is not popping up on my phone, so I see it. Kim McNichols. Hi, Kim. Awesome. So yeah, so everyone can go to Viome.com and order yourself a kit. It's super, 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 super easy. And then, like Naveen said, you get the list and you actually get, it's on an app, right? Like you
Yeah.
can, so if you're grocery shopping, you can have the app with you and know like what you should buy and what you shouldn't buy to like help regulate your
It's
body.
really cheap too, by the way. These things used to cost, thousands of dollars, $5,000 to $10,000, and now you can get that for $399. You don't have to get doctor to order it. You can go there, buy it for yourself. You do a test at home. You don't have to draw any blood from your vein and stuff, and you're done. And you get to see exactly what's inside you and what you can do to make yourself healthy. An interesting thing is, as you change your diet, you should test it every 2 to 3 months, because what happens is when you change your diet, your microbes start to change and your body starts to adapt, and that means you have to retune your body again. And every single time you do the test after the first time, it's only $199, and it actually is below our cost. But we want to make sure, from our perspective, that we encourage people to do more tests so they can stay healthy. And our hope is that over time, and as the volume goes up, our costs will come down so we won't lose money.
Totally. And for those of you that are in Canada, if you've looked before, Viome has not been available, but it just went available. I think it was last week in Canada.
Last week, yeah. And UK and Canada both.
Oh, awesome. Good. I didn't hear that one. So UK and Canada, I know there's a few people on here, like Penelope's here from New Zealand. So unfortunately, you can't do that. But UK, US, and Canada, you can all access it.
We're looking at Australia next. Is probably going to be Australia, then Middle East, India, and all of Europe and South Africa. So we're really looking to just expand as fast as we can. And my hope really is, Bree, before in the next 5 years, we can get to millions of people and make this chronic illness simply a matter of choice. So anyone who's listening to it, please help me get to that goal. Because once we get there, the humanity will get better. There's no reason for all these parasites on humanity, these drug companies, to exist. Let's implode them. Let them just die of their own death. slow, massive, chronic death.
So funny. And for those of you that are asking, yes, there are some other options out there on the market. I can tell you that Viome is the best one on the market. I did another one and it gives you like bare minimum results, and then you have to go research what the results mean and all the things. Like Viome is super easy, super user friendly.
I don't know if you know, but yeah, this technology came from Los Alamos National Lab, where they had developed it for the biodefense work. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars for 10 years developing this technology. It looks at every strain of every bacteria, every virus, whether it's a phages, DNA virus, RNA virus, or and looks at yeast, fungus, mold, your own human RNA. It looks at all the expressions on how how your body is digesting different foods. But more importantly, we look at not all who the bacteria are. We know how active they are, but most importantly, what they are doing. So we look at, are they producing the short chain fatty acid, such as are they producing butyrate, propionate, and acetate? Are they producing vitamin B? Are they producing LPS, which is the enzyme that causes inflammation, right? So we look at every single thing, what these bacteria are doing, not who they are, but what they are doing. Telling someone you are a man doesn't tell them anything. You need to know this man is a plumber, this man is an electrician, this man is a doctor. And that's what we really focus on, not just telling you who they are, but really what they are doing. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing in the world that can do that.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I love what you're up to. Naveen was a huge, huge help and inspiration to me when I was writing the book. I actually got to hang out with him twice in Seattle during the writing process while I was there for 3 weeks. And he finds a way to say like these little things that are, he said to me at some point, like something, I said, you said something about being Wonder Woman. And I said, oh, I'm trying. And his response was, you already are, you just don't see it yet. And so thank you for always reflecting back to me what I'm capable of and what I'm possible of. You've been a huge, huge influence in my life this year. And I just am so grateful for your friendship and your mentorship and your brilliance. And I just thank you.
I don't know what to tell you, because the point is you make everyone better. And I think you and I talked about when you say you are a coach, and I say you're not a coach. You are more like in a mirror. You allow people to reflect themselves of who they really are, because they don't see the true inside, right? And to me, that is such a beauty of what you do, is you allow everyone to be at their best, because they can see what they can be, not what they are. So this magical mirror that you have allows them to see what they possibly can be. That gives them a permission to leave, is really what you do.
Well, thank you. And you have been a mirror like that to me as well. So even those of us that are mirrors still need mirrors. And thank you. I really, really appreciate it. So the book, for those of you that don't know, part of the reason I'm interviewing Naveen today is because my book went live on Amazon. It's officially an Amazon bestseller in 2 different Kindle categories and 1 book category, which is great.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we're trying for 2 more categories tonight, so that's fun. Last I checked, I was just in the number 1600 around-ish of all the Kindle books on the entire Amazon platform.
Please go buy the book.
Yeah, it's only 99 cents today. So if you go on Amazon, I'll put the link in the comments again. But if you go on Amazon, it's just 99 cents on Kindle today. So
thank you.
Thanks, Naveen. I so appreciate your brilliance. And I will message you. I know I told you I'm coming to Seattle again for 2 weeks in December. I don't know if you'll be here, but I'll message you my dates.
Unless you are, I'm probably traveling, but just shoot me an email.
Okay.
Take care.
Cool. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye, Alan, and everyone that joined us. Thank you so much. Have a great Tuesday, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Thank you again for joining me for another fantastic episode of Permission to Leap. If you're looking to take your next big leap, be sure to check out my book that guides you through the 6 phases of the leap process at bit.ly/readp2l. My book will support you in moving through your leap with more clarity and ease, because there needs to be more people like you living an inspired life and making a positive difference in the world. Much love today and always. I will catch you on the next episode of Permission to Leap.